Hey guys, welcome back to podcast 9 3/4. I'm your host, the Half-Blood Princess. In this video, I'm going to talk about who was Game of Thrones' best character, Jon Snow or Arya Stark. But before I get started, if you love Game of Thrones as much as I do, be sure to subscribe and give this video a thumbs up. Game of Thrones has so many great characters. It's hard to choose between any of them being my favorites, but there are two characters that stood out from the beginning, and that's Jon Snow and Arya Stark. But between the two of them, which one is the better character? There are so many different factors which make these two such memorable characters, and they've been there since episode 1. Both Arya and Jon are characters who are labeled a certain way by society and are now looking for their own place in the world. Jon's story of self-discovery is certainly good, but Arya is the more compelling underdog story. She was repeatedly told that she had to be a proper lady, but Arya knew even at a young age that that was not for her. We got to follow her journey as she defied society's expectations and became one of the greatest warriors in Westeros. For a lot of the series, Arya is the kind of character that goes out looking for trouble. She wants to prove herself or get revenge on her enemies, so she's always in attack mode. It makes her character very entertaining. However, I'd say Jon is the more reluctant hero in this one, who always ready to make a sacrifice, and this is shown many times throughout the story, including his temporary death at the hands of the Night's Watch, but also how his story ends when he became an outcast for killing Daenerys and saving Westeros. Despite being a great character, Jon Snow's growth over the course of the series was pretty minimal. He learned things over the course of the show, but he always felt he was the same brooding young man that we saw in the first episode. However, with Arya, we literally got to see her grow up over the 8 seasons. Looking at season 1 compared to season 8, the growth within her character ended up being one of the show's best. Jon Snow definitely had the dashing hero persona perfected, but it doesn't always make for the most entertaining character. From the beginning of the series, he was always a bit of a wet blanket, and it was up to the characters around him to be more lively. Arya, on the other hand, might not have been the life of the party, but she definitely had a spark to her that Jon didn't. She always spoke her mind, and she talked back to people, allowing her to be funny and energetic, but then she was serious when she needed to be. Both Arya and Jon go on some pretty good adventures throughout the series, giving us some of the most exciting moments. But when Arya's storyline was good for the first 4 seasons, it kind of dropped off a little bit after she went to Braavos. And despite the potential of the storyline, it became a little sloppy and repetitive in her development. On the other hand, Jon Snow, the character that we always wanted to follow. Moments were more thrilling than others, but unlike Arya, Jon never had an entire season that was worth skipping. With them being the obvious good guys in the story, House Stark suffered some major losses in the earlier seasons. The death of Ned was a major blow in season 1, and that was followed by an even more devastating Red Wedding in season 3. We definitely want to see justice done for what they did to some of our favorite characters, and Arya became that instrument of vengeance. It started out with small acts of revenge, killing those who had personally wronged her or killed her friends, but by the time Arya kills Walter Frey and his men, there was no one that we were cheering for harder. There are so many epic battles and moments throughout Game of Thrones, and a lot of those include Jon Snow right in the middle. Thinking about the best moments in the show, several of Jon's finest scenes stand out, in his death and resurrection, facing down the charging horses in the Battle of the Bastards, killing a White Walker at Hardhome. Jon continued to prove himself the hero of the show throughout. While Arya's Braavos storyline might not have been that great, the show picked up the pace once she was back to Westeros. The final season that really made her shine and become one of the most badass characters in the series, and she even killed the Night King. As the show progressed, it became very clear that Jon Snow was the center of the story. He was the character we wanted to follow to the end, whatever that end might have been, and despite its disappointing final season, the show did end with him appropriately. Overall, I would like to say that Jon Snow is the better character because he always seemed to be the center part of what was happening around him, while Arya always felt kind of like a part of an ensemble. Let me know your thoughts about this in the comment section, and be sure to like and subscribe. Okay, love you, bye!